Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, episode 215, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka magicman. I've got Skyforge on the PS4 on behind me, because I've been playing some of that. We'll talk about it a little later. I didn't put it in the show notes, I'm just going to throw it in there anyway, because that's the way we roll, and rolling with me, Jason Winter, how are you?
I don't like surprises.
Well, Skyforge is Skyforge, so there you go.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I just wanted to announce though that I am going to relaunch myself as Jason Winter, the Legend. So,
are you upgrading your character model?
I am upgrading my combat. I'm going to have much better combat.
Just your combat. No upgrade to the character model.
I'm already high resolution, baby. Oh yeah.
All right.
And I am free to play.
Oh boy. Also angry, Zach Sharps. How are you? You guys are sitting perfectly here. Wait, well, watch this. You're like one of those face meld.
Oh yeah.
You got to do like the gradual morph thing. Where like,
yep. Jason morphs into Zach. Somebody get
Jack
on
and
that.
I had a child. Here's what it would look like.
Somebody get on that. Throw it in the comments. Zach, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Back from Heroes event. If I could show the logo.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
You rolling in some free swag, huh?
I got it.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that
That's the reason I became a games journalist, for the free clothes they give you.
It's for the free sweatshirts.
Wearing my Wolfenstein shirt that I got from Bethesda.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's beautiful.
I work with savages, people. Savages. Let's get started on the news. All right, so first let's go through, Zach will go through yours first. So you were the MMO Bomb employee that we sent to the Heroes of the Storm meeting held by Blizzard at the old headquarters there. Full disclosure, Blizzard, and we're not the only site this applies to, obviously, but Blizzard did spring for airfare and lodging. They did not, however, fill Zach's pockets with tons and tons of $100 bills in an effort to sway...
Only sweatshirts.
Were there $100 bills in the pockets of the sweatshirt when they hit? No? All right. So they did not sway your personal opinion. You're going to give us the good and the bad here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This, first off, it wasn't at Blizzard's headquarters. It was at a resort in Irvine, but... side point, when I went in there initially, I was thinking to myself, okay, I have this interview question to ask, this interview question to ask, this interview question to ask. Then the presentation happened and all that just completely got obliterated because they literally answered all my questions. And that's because Heroes 2.0 is now a thing. Yep. Heroes 2.0 is basically a massive change to sort of bring everything together they've been working on the past couple of years. That means progression overhaul. If you look at the graph that we have posted on MMOBomb.com, basically the leveling system before was just absolutely terrible. You would have fast progression, super slow progression, semi-slow progression, and then it just turned into a really big grind fest after that. Now it's going to be way more gradual, a lot quicker to level, and the leveling is endless. So you can level as much as you want. All your hero levels are tied basically together in what equals out to be your player levels. So instead of being capped at 40 now, in terms of your player level, you'll actually be able to show off your knowledge of the game and how much you've played it because all your hero levels will be combined. So it will make a lot more sense now on like the loading screen when you see everyone's levels, who plays the game a lot, who has a lot of knowledge, who doesn't, and who is more of a newer player. Which is really, really good information to have. There's also loot boxes that are introduced as well. The loot boxes are basically filled with cosmetics, heroes, loot box exclusive things, and you gain them every single level. So every time you level up a hero, you get a loot box. And the loot boxes, as you accomplish certain milestones, end up having different rarities, such as rare, epic, and so on, which allow you to get at least one of the rarity of that loot box, possibly even higher rarity as well. On top of that, there's announcers.
Hold on. That is a lot that you just dropped on us. A lot. That is a complete overhaul, basically, of the game without overhauling. Without overhauling the game itself. Okay, so first off, let's start there. So if you enjoyed the gameplay itself of Heroes of the Storm, that's not what this change focuses on. We're still going to have our lanes, our combat, the abilities. The core game is still there. This is kind of the, I don't want to say meta because that is a different meaning in the context of a MOBA, but this is the overarching systems in your progression, not on a match level, but on a campaign level, on a character level, on a hero level, and your ability to acquire things. So if you didn't like just the gameplay of Heroes of the Storm, the way I read this, and after talking to you a little bit, none of this is going to change your opinion as far as if you didn't like the core MOBA action in Heroes of the Storm, this update isn't doing anything for you, right?
Yeah, that's exactly true. It's basically the rest of the game. The gameplay is sort of to the side. I mean, they are changing some things here and there, very minor things. They didn't really get too much into it, but they said that there's going to be like tweaks to, different heroes and whatnot, of course, that you would normally see. Exactly. But it's not going to change the core fundamentals of the game. So if you didn't like that, then this update's really not going to do much for you.
However, if you felt like it was taking too long to grind up certain things without having to pay them, some things weren't even available through that method, if you felt like progression on a player level rather than just an individual hero level was rather limited, this looks to be huge. For if you had, if those were your gripes, Jason, you got to be all over this update, I would think, right?
On some level, yes, but on the other hand, the fact that it seems to be a little bit more geared towards an RNG kind of system with the loot boxes and hoping you get what you want. Now, it depends on exactly what the rates are going to be of that stuff dropping.
You have the ability to re-roll, though, too.
Sure, you have the re-roll. Well, so it's more RNG. I replaced by one die roll with another die roll. So, yeah, I mean, the math is going to be a little more convoluted, maybe a little less easy to predict.
Hey, you played D&D. You know how awesome it feels to have that die roll in your pocket when you need it.
Yeah, I know how awful it feels when you roll 1 5 times in a row as well. But yeah, I mean, I can see there are positives and negatives to it. Obviously, they feel like this is going to be an overall net positive because, they've kind of familiarized themselves with a different game that does something kind of similar to this. So that appears to be working well. So they're going to implement it, roll it over into this.
Zach, what is so far? How are these changes being received? Since it pretty much immediately upon you guys being told, basically, you were also told, oh yeah, by the way, you could totally go play it right now.
It's very positive. Everyone that was at the event was extremely positive about it. The Reddit, on the other hand, is positive, but also mad about two particular things. First off, people who are thinking to themselves right now, okay, well, I've already leveled up my account. Do I still get loot chests? Yes, you get 70. There's a max on it. So those are retroactive. That's basically it's going to be applied to your account once this all officially launches late April. But that's one thing people are mad about, because if you think about how many heroes, someone might have leveled, if you're really hardcore, you might say to yourself, I deserve more than 70 loot boxes because I have way higher, levels, in total. So I should get more. But if you think about the fact that you could re-roll those loot boxes will contain shards, which is a brand new currency that you could spend on pretty much anything in the game that's cosmetic oriented. It's a really good value just overall that you're just getting all these loot boxes to, basically just open all at once. And then also on top of that, master skins, I'm pretty sure are being sort of removed in a sense that they're not really a thing anymore. That's also been irritating a lot of people, but people have brought the suggestion, oh, well, let's make like master banners or something that's a bit more cosmetic, that's not hero-based, that's more just sort of like, spray or banner-based or something like that, or even mounts, basically because, and the reason why people are mad about this, because they might have just super grinded for a particular skin that they really, really wanted. They spent 10,000 gold on it, and now it's not really going to be a thing anymore. So those are the two main things people are mad about. Overall, though, people are pretty positive.
Yeah, and Jason, to your point, they may have added some RNG on the loot chest side of things, but on the collection side of things, as far as skins go, the introduction of shards seems to have peeled back some of the RNG there. because you can use those shards. If I'm correct, Zach, if I'm not correct, please correct me. Shards can actually be used to forge specific cosmetic rewards that you're after, so that you don't have to deal with the RNG for that side of things, all the way down to even changing the way the color variations in each of those skins work, and they're split up into different color variations to make it cheaper and easier to get those things, right?
Exactly, yeah. So they're making a big focus on get what you want without having to worry too much about the randomness. Of course, there's still going to be that randomness there, but they made it very, very clear that they've even included algorithms to make sure you're not going to get the same things constantly. You'll still get duplicates here and there, but it's going to be not as bad as it normally would be in a lot of other cases. Plus the reroll features there as well, which is really good for people with extra gold.
Hey, imagine that, guys. Blizzard took what some other games do well and people like and implemented it in an intelligent way in their games. Imagine that. I mean, that is, you know, Blizzard's MO. I mean, yeah, I mean, let's just say it. That's Blizzard's MO anymore. I
mean, technically, they're stealing it from their own game.
Right.
As I was talking with Zach, this sounds a lot like the Overwatch. It's a lot like Overwatch. So, and that's where, I mean, and then I'm kind of basing this on what I've heard from Overwatch. People are generally okay with it. But you do get a little. Sometimes people are like, "Man, I just want to be able to spend $5 and buy this skin rather than hope to get it out of a box or save up gold in Overwatch. There's going to be shards in this. You can save up enough of that stuff. You can buy just about anything you want." So it's like you say though. It is a difference between the get the RNG, get that cool drop, but then sometimes not get anything for a while, versus the slow and steady grind that takes weeks and months. But at least you know you're going to get there and get the thing. Trying to find the balance between those two is always going to be the difficult part. So at least they put in a little bit of the you can still work towards it aspect by having the shards you can do.
The balance is only difficult, Jason, because they're trying to make money too.
Well, yeah.
If they would remove that,
you should see how many. I wonder how many loot boxes they sell when a holiday event goes in Overwatch.
If they would just take the need to make money totally out of it, this would be really easy to balance.
Well, but before you could just buy. I imagine. I'm guessing because I definitely played Heroes of the Storm. I think of it in like League of Legends or other stuff. You pay $10, you buy a skin. I'm guessing that's not going to be the way it works in the new system. You can't just directly convert cash into a skin.
Right? You can purchase them with gems.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Yeah. Oh. Gems are a thing. At least I'm fairly certain that's going to be the case for skins. I know it is for heroes though. But yeah, gems are the new
to replace real money and are used to buy heroes or items in the featured shop.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not even taking that away. So yeah, what the hell's the problem? Now I'm totally on board.
All right.
I got a little confused. So many different stuff. It was like gems and shards and tokens and whatever.
All right, so let's go around the horn here real quick. I would venture, if I had to guess, that Zach, this has just increased your love of Heroes of the Storm. Jason, this really probably doesn't do anything for you or me because we're just generally not big MOBA fans to begin with. And this doesn't really change anything on the MOBA front, which would be the only interest I would have as far as checking something out that had the MOBA title on it. Zach, let's go with you first. That's just my prediction. Yeah. Lay some facts on us. What's it do for you?
It gets me to want to play the game again, basically, because I've always had an issue with the progression system of Heroes of the Storm, and I even made a video a while back actually breaking down how much more expensive it is compared to the other MOBAs out there, and this completely just threw that out the window and fixed all those issues, because now you're not going to have to grind as much. You're going to be able to achieve getting new heroes a lot quicker, and it's not going to feel like a chore to get what you want in the game. So I'm 100% positive about it. There's only one thing that I'm negative regarding it, which I'll talk about my bombs. So.
All right, Jason, the final word. So Zach gives it a thumbs up. Jason?
Yeah, you're pretty much right on. Unless I could spend shards to like ban trolls, then no, I'm not. It's not really doing anything for me. Looks like a good system. Looks like something I would definitely get into if I wanted to play Heroes of the Storm more. But yeah, like you said, it didn't really affect the gameplay aspect of it. So yeah.
I'm going to give it a thumbs up as well. Although it doesn't personally impact me, I could see how a lot of these changes would be for the better for the core Heroes of the Storm audience, with a few exceptions here and there as far as more smaller things. I'm going to give the big overarching changes a thumbs up. On this list, though, Zach, you also had a few smaller things. A new hero, Diablo skins. Take us through those before we slide over to the next topic.
Yeah, so in the loot crates, cosmetic-wise, you're gonna have things like announcers, which are you have like maybe your favorite hero. If you want them to announce like double kill, triple kill, or whatever, that is now a thing that you can do. You also have voice lines for your hero as well, for like taunts and whatnot. You have emojis, which you can use to basically type in game. You get anything from like hero specific to different other types of emojis. There's things like banners, which you can place down, like if you conquer a keep or whatever, you want to sort of taunt the opponent. There's also sprays, which is sort of like an Overwatch. You just spray or whatever, and it's just your spray. And then you have more portraits, which you can get as well. But also on top of that, there's the loadout system, because if you have all these cosmetics and you want to sort of alter them, you want to sort of have like presets that you can build up. That way you could just easily swap them, and you can have 3 per hero. So that way if you have a certain set of stuff that you like for a hero and you want to have multiple sets that you can easily swap to, you can do that on the fly easily. There's also the new collection menu, which is essentially going to tie all this stuff together in a more intuitive way. That gets rid of the in-game shop. Now it's just all organized, and you get to see what you have, what you don't have, how much it costs, and so on. You also have the new hero, Cassia, which is a Amazonian type character. A lot of people at the event didn't even know who the hell she was, even though Blizzard at the presentation was like, hey, we got her moveset right. It's like, no one knows who this hero is. Like, what's going on here? But her kit is awesome. I really love how impactful it feels. A lot of people at the event who are more esports oriented were just worried how much value she's going to have in the competitive scene. But from what I gather from them, she's going to have enough value where she'll be picked every once in a while. We will have to wait and see how that translates into the meta and how often she is actually going to be picked. Because they said before that there was a lot of other heroes that they were worried about not getting picked, and then they got picked frequently because someone found a way to synergize that particular hero with other heroes and made it very valuable. So I personally like the new hero. Really awesome. I actually played Heroes 2.0's beta just to play her a bit more. But I ended up dropping off that beta just because none of the progress is going to carry over. So why play it?
Jason, sounds like you have some thoughts.
No, that's how I usually feel about betas too. Like, I'm not going to carry over, so I'm just going to do this for like an hour and then I'm done. Okay, good enough. Mm-hmm. No, that was about it.
Well, kudos to Blizzard, and let us know if you're a Heroes of the Storm fan. Obviously, let us know how you feel about these sweeping changes to the progression system, the loot system, and some other things in the comments below. Let us know if it's working out. It seems to be, comments-wise, working out pretty well so far. So we'll see if that holds true. I bet a bunch of people were surprised to log in and find like they weren't level 30 anymore. They were level 174.
Well, not really, because it's a completely separate client. It's not tied to the live client yet. It's basically just a PTR test is all it is.
Ah, gotcha.
And that goes into my A-bomb, because their marketing is super confusing for a lot of people, and I've seen that in the actual open beta itself.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's in open beta now. It's expected to go into a full launch sometime in April.
And if you want to play, all you got to do is on your launcher, you click the drop down and you hit Heroes 2.0 beta, you download it, and then you can play. So.
Go ahead,
yeah, I'm going to just level up 20 characters to level 5 each, so I'll be at level 100. And I think I want some.
There you go.
There you go. I don't know how to play anybody.
Yeah, you'll be deceivingly sucky at the game.
Yeah, there you go. As opposed to my obvious sucking.
As opposed to obviously sucking. Exactly. Yeah. You know, you're level 2. Oh, he's going to suck. He's level 200. Oh, he's great. No, he sucks. He sucks just as much as when he was level 2. Speaking of, we're not sure whether it sucks or not. God, that was a brilliant segue. Hold on, let me just get right off of my shoulders there. We're going to talk about the secret world here, because we talked a few weeks ago about announcements from Funcom that the secret world was going free to play, which we all generally gave a thumbs up for. That they were going to receive some enhancements to the combat in the game, which we all generally gave thumbs up for. that the main story content, at minimum, the entire story and new story content, would be part of that free-to-play, which we were just generally pretty positive across the board, with the thumbs up from all three of us, on the potential for what we were hearing from Funcom. Now, they weren't ready to talk at that time, and then all of a sudden yesterday they were ripe for talking. It just boom, out of nowhere, into email boxes and everything came the official release. So if you have not seen this yet, and you listened to us talk about this topic previously and were kind of interested in this, please listen to this discussion before you purchase anything. And I know one of us on this panel is wishing he would have done exactly that.
Yep.
I already owned it. Jason already owned it. So it must be Zach. In anticipation of all this good news, Zach actually went out, found a good deal, because it's always on sale somewhere. Get all these issues, pretty much brought you current for what, like $15, I think?
Yeah, 15.
A pretty badass little deal there, getting all the issues. And he figured, I'm going to play through some of this, roll through some of this, and dude, I'm going to be in great shape and everything. Well, here's the deal with the Secret World free-to-play. It's a totally different game.
Not totally.
No, it's a totally different game, Jason.
It's on a different server, basically.
No,
but the game itself is...
It's a totally different game.
Well,
so much so that they're putting a new name on it. Secret World Legends.
Now a card game.
No, that's Elder Scrolls.
I know, I'm just joking.
All right, so at a very high level, gang, here's what Funcom is doing with the Secret World, and we'll get into some of our concerns in the nitty-gritty here, but at a very high level, the Secret World MMORPG itself is being maintenance moded. You can still play it. They're going to leave the servers on. You can still progress through all the content that's there. However, you will not be getting any more new content in the Secret World, the MMORPG. That's done. It's maintenance mode. Go hang out with your friends. Finish playing some stuff there. Do whatever you want to do. RP, whatever the hell you want to do in the game. But the game is exactly what the game is at this point. Nothing else is going to be added to the game. On the flip side, later this year, Funcom is going to release Secret World Legends, which is the dumbest title they could have ever picked for this, I think.
No, I could think of dumber.
It's
the Secret World.
That would
even more Secret World.
I would have preferred
super
that.
double pinky Secret World.
I would have preferred that, at least just from the standpoint of they were willing to have some fun with themselves and the game. It's just Secret World Legends. And it is essentially a single-player RPG that will be connected to a server so that you can have smaller group content. They are calling it multiplayer, so you are able to group up with people for various things. But it's being very much tailored towards being able to play most of the game solo, if you want to. More in lines with a traditional... like The Witcher or something like that. That type of RPG.
I've heard people compare it to the first Guild Wars, like having the hub that you can group up.
Yeah, that's probably a damn good example, actually, of this type of thing. So yeah, you're gonna, and all the story content will be there. You'll be able to play through all of it. All future story content, Season 2 and Season 3, all the updates are going to go to Secret World Legends, not the Secret World. That's done. It's maintenance moded, and I'm pissed about that.
They don't care.
I know they don't care. I know they don't care. So it feels like to me, first off, and let me get your impressions on this impression. It feels like they wanted to take what was, because I'm so split on this. Like, there's things I hate about this idea, and then there's things that I feel like, you know what, I see why they're doing this, I understand it, and you know what, it's not a bad idea, the way that, I'm so split on this, and a lot of it, leaning negative, at least from my perspective, is simply because of how much I love the Secret World. If I was neutral, I probably wouldn't care much at all. But It feels like to me what they're trying to do is tap into the more RPG player base rather than what they've always been and what they've always geared their advertising towards, Jason, was the MMORPG player base. Maybe expanding the IP to a broader audience.
Yeah, they call it a shared world RPG.
Right.
That was what they were actually referring to it as. And on some level, it makes sense that they're kind of shying away from that because they haven't done. I mean, they've done things that are like MMORPGs. You know, they sort of did Conan Exiles. They have at least some other Conan games that are in development. They're never going to do another full MMORPG. In the way where the industry is going, we can understand that. The way MMORPGs themselves have become kind of a dirty word or have not been on the level of what we expected them to be. So it makes sense that the evolution of the genre as a whole means that they're going to shift it over to something like this. Now, as you say, is that going to be enough? Is the rebranding going to be enough to draw in new people while also not pissing off the old people quite so much? And that's the sort of thing where, like, if they pissed off every old player and got twice as many new people in, they do it instantly.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. From what I've been seeing, you know, at first place I looked at some of the comments on news articles about this, and it was generally in a positive direction. But then I thought, okay, a lot of people reading this, they haven't played the game or they lightly played it or whatever. So I went over to the Reddit where I figured this is going to be your more hardcore players, the ones who've put thousands of hours into it. And even then, it was still mostly positive. A few people getting nobody got like just totally upset to the point of like F this, F Funcom, you know, expletive-filled posts. A lot of them were like, I'm disappointed. I'm not real happy about this, but nobody got really vile or awful about it. So I tend to think even in that hardcore segment of the community, it's not the ideal situation, but I don't think they're all like torches and pitchforks about it either.
And I mean, it could certainly be a lot worse, Zach. The answer could be we're shutting the secret world down, and that's it. I mean, so yeah, I get well, all right, if you had to do something with it, we're glad that it wasn't just shutting it down. Being the secret world lover in me, I hate that game is essentially dead for me, content-wise. It's going to be the first MMO you could complete at this point until maintenance mode is shut down at some point in the future. It's just not going to get any updates. The other side of that stings a little bit too is that if I have currency or membership or whatever on the secret world, that's going to transfer into Secret World Legends, and that's fine. We would expect that to be... Seriously? We would expect that to be the case. What doesn't transfer, however, is your characters. You're not everybody starts over. Everybody. If you've played like I have from the Secret World since launch, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many of those ability wheel things you have filled out. Doesn't matter at all. It's not going there. There's a name reserve thing, but even the character model, nope. You're rolling a new character, and only one. They'll sell you... come on, what is going on here? They will allow you to reserve a name and transfer currency over. That's it. I hate this, Zach. I hate this. It kind of feels like, wow, my time in the secret world was literally just kind of thrown out, but not actually thrown out in the way of like City of Heroes being thrown out. It's a very weird feeling, Zach.
Yeah, I hate it because their trailer that they showed was completely terrible. Like it literally showed stuff that people have already seen before. Yep. It didn't show any like improvements whatsoever. So that tells me that all this big talk is basically, oh, well, we just improved the combat a little bit. We changed the progression system a fair bit. We basically did stuff that we could have possibly implemented in the main game because people only cared about the bad combat system, really. That's why a lot of people quit this game, is the combat system. So you're telling me that you've made such a huge change to the combat system that it couldn't just been patched into the main client? I highly doubt that, because unless this is true action combat, they've already failed in my eyes. Because, I mean, they already have soft targeting combat. They could have made that soft targeting combat better. They also could have maybe made the intro tutorial to the game a bit more fleshed out to let people know sort of how the game progresses story-wise and what they should do. Maybe have recommended quests and whatnot. They could have added graphical improvements to the game without having to just launch a brand new game. They could have done basically a lot of this stuff without having to launch an entire new game. They could have fixed their damn launcher even without relaunching the game. So I'm looking at this from the perspective of, if this isn't ridiculously changed, I don't know how inspired I'm going to be to hop back in this game. The only reason why I might is because it's going to be free. Because I've already played through the beginning of the game so many times now that I don't even want to see the beginning of the game anymore. But I'm going to have to, because my progression doesn't carry over. And when they initially sort of announced this, and, you know, basically not really, they didn't announce it, but they sort of hinted at all this, they should have just completely said, hey, guys, we're changing things. It's going to be a new standalone game. That way people like myself don't go out and purchase the game because they're like, oh, wow, it's something that I really didn't like about the game and the combat's being changed. That's going to be awesome. Oh, sorry, it's a brand new game. Your progression's not going to carry over. So I'm very salty about this. I don't like it. And until they impress me, which they haven't thus far, it's bad.
And there's going to be,
of course, they're going to tell you the good parts, not going to tell you about the bad parts in the initial mention.
Right. And they're going to have their own patron rewards program. They're talking about doing the cash shop in very cosmetics, boosters, character slots, that type of thing, because everybody only gets one character slot. So there's a lot of questions outstanding, and I have literally the questions outstanding within the Funcom team. They've confirmed receipt and will get back to me as fast as they can, was the word that I got late last night.
Not as fast as they get to other people.
Well, I didn't ask the generic questions. To be fair, a lot of my questions were very pointed at things, particularly from a Secret World player's perspective, like, all right, if all the story, you keep saying all the main story, the main story, the main story. So what does that mean happens with all the side missions, the investigation missions, the things like that? Are those still going to be there? Are they being tweaked or changed? Is any of this content, as far as the main story goes, being tweaked or changed for new players? I'm on like issue 14, 15, 16, somewhere around there in the game. I am not looking forward to playing through all that story content, even if it's scaled down for single player content, even the smaller dungeons and stuff. I'm not looking forward to playing through all that again just so that I can sit and wait for Season 2 and Season 3 content to actually come into Secret World Legends. You know, is all that side content gone? The game is being revamped as far as it's going to have a level progression system, which is something the Secret World doesn't even remotely have. You know, it's all focused on the ability wheel and everything. You will have a level, gain experience, gain levels, that type of thing.
It remotely had it.
You're talking about the quality level of gear, and yes, the gear does still play into their new system as well, but it's being streamlined on a lot of fronts, I think, to fit with more traditional RPG elements, which kind of is sad to see, given how different it was when it launched, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a huge success, so I can also say I understand all these things. Link your Steam account, if you're playing the game on Steam, to Secret World Legends, so you get the little bonus perks there. One of the questions I asked Jason is a perfect example. If they're only going to give you one character slot, but they plan to give you the ability to buy them, does that then mean factions are still a thing? And because maybe you want to play through the different storylines for all three factions. Other than that, I can't think of a reason why you would want to buy an additional character slot in something like Secret World Legends. So there's lots of questions outstanding. Secret World is gone from Steam. If you want to continue to play that, you've got to play it through their launcher. Go to their website and download it. But yeah, your old characters will live on the Secret World servers. You can log in and play them. But you're going to start all over in Secret World Legends. And some of your cosmetic stuff, you'll get the transfer, but that's it.
Yeah, they really needed to do better with describing everything for this rollout.
Yeah, and
yes.
As far as the changes they're making, they are revamping combat. They say they're revamping character models and graphics and things like that, but the engine's still the same, so they can't go that far with it. in my estimation, because you didn't change the engine that you used. And there, honestly, some of their representatives, Jason, are kind of being pretty dickish about specific questions here, aren't they?
Like, which ones in particular are you calling out?
On the Reddit.
Oh, well, that's not a guy who works for Funcom. That one thing I linked you.
Oh, I thought the one you linked had a Funcom rep talking.
No. That was just a guy putting his like little faction thing in there. No, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Never mind.
Oh,
no.
okay.
Nice try. Yeah, let's make them suck even more.
Yeah, I don't like the way this was communicated. I'm hopeful for the game itself. I'm definitely going to play it. However, God, I'm not looking forward to playing it if I have to go through all the story content and there's no changes to it. And from everything we're reading in the FAQs and talking with Funcom, they're trying, and I get it, Zach, they're trying to tout up that the changes in combat and things like that are going to excite longtime Secret World players enough to be okay with having to do that content real quickly again. I don't buy that. I mean, that just seems like PR speak to me.
I don't either, because I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I don't think that they stopped sort of making issues for the base game, so they couldn't have started this, you know, that long ago. So these changes can't be that massive, I don't think. I mean, and also the impact of this is far different than an example that was brought up on the Reddit, Final Fantasy XIV, when they went from Final Fantasy XIV to A Realm Reborn. Final Fantasy XIV wasn't out that long, and then it did a revamp, so people didn't have thousands of hours or whatever in this game before they did the revamp. Then they revamped it, everything was better, and people still had to re-roll, of course, I think, unless you played the legacy servers, but it was still like, okay, well, I can understand only being released for, you know, a year or so, maybe a little longer than that, and then doing a revamp, but being released for a few years plus. Like, I think it was launched in, what, 2013?
2012.
2012, yeah. Launching in 2012 and now doing a full revamp would basically be like, okay, it's a brand new game. We're ceasing development on old one, and here's, you know, a brand new game that you have to start all over on, but it's pretty much the same content. We just completely changed the progression, and also we have made some improvements to the combat, but how much of those are actually massive improvements, who the hell knows? And here's a trailer that shows none of that. So question mark, what does this all actually mean? Their communication is just awful all around.
And they're still doing raids. They won't be there at the initial launch, but they are going to bring over the raids too. So and just a point of clarification, yeah, some of the Tokyo stuff is coming later. Point of clarification on your Final Fantasy thing. Final Fantasy XIV was out for 2 years before it was shut down.
That's why I said like 1 to 2 years.
Realm Reborn. Yeah, it was out for a fair while. There were people that sunk significant amounts of time into that. I got to give this one a sideways thumb, only because I am very hopeful for it. I am hopeful that I will enjoy it, that I'm looking forward to it. Talking to Funcom, you know, they're telling me things like, you know, change, yeah, sucks sometimes, but trust us, you're going to like this. You're going to like this. You're going to like this. And that's unfortunately all I have to go on right now is their word, right? I don't have a video or anything. So I'm going to give it a sideways thumb on the I'm hopeful for this. I want this to be awesome and put more people in Secret World. But there is that part of me that's hurt because my MMO that nobody played and was only for me is no longer going to have updates. Zach, sounds like you're giving it a thumbs down.
Not a complete. It's probably almost there, but I still am hopeful that what they're actually saying is true, that this is a big change, not a bunch of minor changes. And I swear, if they launch this game with a launcher that's just as horrible, oh my god. And then if Blue Mountain is still screwed up graphically, where you have to turn your effects to 3 unless you get literally 5 to 10 frames per second, oh my god. Jason, you guys, I really hope that they fix those things.
Where are you, sir?
Well, first of all, part of your concern won't be a problem. There's not going to be a launcher. It's only going to be on Steam.
Right.
If you want to use the original Secret World, you have to use the launcher, but Legends will be only on Steam. So.
Oh my god!
Okay.
Seriously?
You got that much of a launcher, and I'll just talk over Mike's phone now. But basically, to me, it's going to come down to the combat, and on some level, I agree that it needed to be improved. I hope they don't go the full, like, Terra style action combat. because I think on some level people want to play this in a more casual sense. I think a lot of people do because the story is so good. You want to experience that. You don't necessarily want to have to be a hardcore, FPS aiming kind of guy. I think there should be something better than what they've got, but not on the full level of skill-based action combat kind of thing. I think that's going to be a big. That could almost be a negative if they go too far in that direction. But overall, for me, I'm going to give it a thumbs up because I'm not like you guys. Wasn't that invested into it, so I don't mind starting over.
Yeah, for you, it's no big deal, ass.
Yeah, exactly. So if they improve on some things that I thought were not that great, then hey, no problem. It doesn't matter to me. And I think a lot of people are at least more leaning towards the thumbs up than the thumbs down from what I've been seeing.
Yeah, I love the IP. I just hope that they didn't overpromise is all.
I do too. I mean, I think out of all three of us here, oh my God, seriously. Hello. Yeah.
Must be very important.
No, she's not. She'll have to call you back. Bye. Oh my God.
Kids,
my 9-year-old daughter's friend. Just, because I guess she didn't take the hint the first time nobody picked up, right? And just freaking calling. Anyway, yeah, I think all of us are generally positive about it. We want it to do well. Maybe me more so out of the three of us because I am a huge Secret World guy. Really, really love the game. But there's some concerns. We'll see. We'll see how Funcom delivers. We're looking forward to getting access to it. And we have a ton of questions out that might be a little more pointed than some questions you might have seen on some other sites, and a bit more direct, just because I don't believe in holding those things back sometimes. Sometimes it costs me an interview here and there, I guess. But to me, if I'm not asking those questions, none of us are doing our job. So stay tuned to the site for that interview. When we get it back, we will post it there. Let's slide over to the weekly bombs, because God, we're running over.
I'm so tempted to just call you on my phone right now.
Oh, I hate you. I hate you. I think you only have my cell phone number, and that's on my
That's true.
So
that's true.
I'm going to give an I don't know bomb to the Secret World and Secret World Legends. Jason, I think you're joining the Secret World party here too, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to give an A-bomb to the rollout of the news.
Yeah,
between, like you said, how they didn't do much in the trailer. And just in general, we talked about this yesterday. It's like the news broke. And at first, and then, like, let's be honest, like half an hour to an hour later, we saw news articles, interviews on various other sites. We were like, oh man, why did they pass us over? And we told them right away we wanted to do an interview. But looking at those other sites, they said as soon as we got the news, we emailed Funcom some questions. And I was like, so they didn't tell anybody in advance of this.
No.
Get the interview questions done like a week in advance, so that they're not rushing and probably crazy frantic right now to deal with all this.
This is the reason you have embargoes, people.
Yeah, I know.
This is the reason you have embargoes.
I mean, you could even just like have sent out the questions, and then only return them like an hour before the news went live. We can get that stuff up quickly enough. So I mean, yeah.
Go ahead, Zach.
I'm going to give Blizzard an A-bomb for their messaging on what Heroes 2.0's open beta actually is. It's a PTR test. Yes, you can consider that an open beta that everyone could participate in, but in today's world, an open beta basically means a soft launch that your progression will carry over in. Yes, they mention in the patch notes and whatnot that your progression won't carry over, but I saw so many people in the chat, hey, will my progression carry over? Hey, will my progression carry over? Hey, where's all my stuff at? Because they didn't really... They didn't help themselves out by calling it an open beta. And I honestly think it's ready just to launch as it is right now. I mean, just throw it out there. People will be happy. But it is what it is. Oh,
yeah. And then there would be those 3 things wrong, and they would be yelling if Blizzard rushed it out the door.
that's true. I told them even in the interviews that I respect them for, trying to test it before it launches and get feedback, stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm impatient, I guess. I don't want to have to wait until late April to really go hard on this game again, so.
Two Digit Scout says, I feel old that none of the hosts first started/made their home in Ultima Online. Many a fond memory, many rage quits back before Care Bear Land MMOs, including UO Trammell, catered to whiny, overbearing, coddled players, where you learned everything the hard way. True trial by fire. Star picks up walking stick and starts his trek home uphill both ways. 2-digit scout. I hope that is a it's not snowing, at least, for that uphill 2-digit or uphill both ways walk. Yeah, Ultima Online was one I think I mentioned in my story that I started and then went back and played a bunch. Ultima Online, I was, what, 15, 16 when that came out. My parents couldn't afford a computer at the time that did anything beyond barely connecting to Napster. So, yeah, I wasn't playing too many PC games back in those days. I was a console baby. Go ahead, Jason.
I didn't even send an email until I was 17, so anyway. Crispy Guy says, I never knew about Master X Master until now and seen Statesman on the website. My heart just sunk into my stomach seeing him on there. Really, NCSoft? Why don't you just come over to my house, burn it down, and leave me a farewell message? You took away one home, why not another? Man. Damn. Whew. And he's Crispy Guy, so naturally he knows about burning stuff down. So.
Yeah, and there were people on the comments too that said, like, you know, oh, these City of Heroes people need to get over it, and I just stayed away from that one. I was like, I'm not putting that in the show, because immediately I saw just comment after comment after comment coming in replying to it, and I was like, nope, leaving this one alone, skipping to the next one. Go ahead, Zach.
Pio Round, aka
yeah!
Around. Yay, spaces! The bomb to Zach for unintentionally turning my screen name into an inside joke. And by the way, Trixler is pronounced Trixler.
All right.
I actually met him at the event. Did not mention that I butchered his name, but it is what it is.
Elusive X Treasure says, first off, massive A-bomb to NCSoft. If I ever thought of ending my boycott of them, this recent slap in the face is a definite reason not to, and I don't think she is alone in that thought. Go ahead, Jason.
Hairdrex Sky Shadow says, A-bomb. Oh, you're putting the spaces in there for him?
Oh, hell yeah, I am.
No, I'm not. He's doing it.
Zach's doing it. Okay. Hairdrex Sky Shadow says, A-bomb to Diablo 3. What the hell? Almost 6 months to create a new class, and you expect us to buy it after you buy the game and an expansion. While Path of Exile has better graphics and vomits out cool new bosses and content almost every month, and it's free.
And they are getting ready to unleash some serious stuff inside Path of Exile.
Yeah. Yep.
And come out on, what, Xbox One, I think it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zach.
Real True Toniness says, A-bomb to Nasty Curb Stomp, Soft, I mean NC-Soft. As the nickname implies, they beat their IP nearly to death. The IP slowly blacks out, but hears sirens in the distance. Help from people who care about them, the fan base. The IP flashes forward, thinking about recovering in a hospital bed, broken bones, and internal bleeding, but hey, all the free jello they can eat. Minutes pass, then days, weeks, months, and years. Yet it seems, but still it's dark. The IP still alive, but in a vegetative state / coma from a nearly fative curb stomp, and is still being kept alive on life support. Jesus. The thing is that NCSoft owns the hospital's IP. The thing is that NCSoft owns the hospital IP, is being treated at, and is going to pull the plug, even though the fan base raised all the money for the medical bills and other expenses to save the IP. NCSoft's like, we can't take the money from the IP. It's too far gone. It's cheaper just to end it. Also, it won't persuade the decision. Oh, decision, I see. Not to pull the plug. So the IP dies. Years later, the fan base has boycotted NCSoft, still bitter about it, of course. NCSoft wants to patch things up and says to the fan base, hey, we have pictures of the IP in its glory days. Remember those? Great days, weren't they? You can have them for free. Want them? Give me a break. What assholes. All right.
Wow.
That was the rant of the week.
Yeah, that was a pretty in-depth story. I mean, pretty dark in some points too.
I am trying to figure out what NC actually stands for. I'm just doing a quick search here, and I cannot find any indication. If any reader knows or viewer knows, let us know.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of bombs in this next one.
I feel like, damn, that was brutal.
That was quite the analogy. He took it a ways.
That was brutal.
I think that's the feelings of the fan base, though.
Like, I want to go put flowers on a grave somewhere. I mean, that was... Wow. Go ahead, Jason. Rescue us.
All right. Abschlussrampe. I'm going to assume that's how that is. Seems nice in German. Says, I love it when you talk and discuss what is said down here in the comments. And what? Okay, so
Not the name. It's a great name.
Is that what it means in German? Loving it when we talk about comments?
No,
Probably.
it's a missile launcher. I mean, might be a nice way to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or bomb, bomb launcher. We'll go with that. Bombs. Anyway, D-bomb for Nier Automata for the sheer amount of innovation and creativity shown. A-bomb for Nier Automata for having half its content be fetch quests, its story be a mess on top of being a sequel to games whose stories were total messes, and having most of its robot Terminator characters look like sex robots. D-bomb to Europa Universalis 4 and Path of Exile for continuing to release more and more patches and expansion packs, all the while listening intently to their community. A-bomb for Mass Effect Andromeda. No, that's a D-bomb for its awesome character animations. I haven't laughed that long in years. My lips always match what I'm saying. And a final A-bomb to Overwatch. Blizzard is constantly developing it towards a more competitive game, although its main appeal is obviously for the fun, casual matches. Gotta get that esport money.
I'm kind of mixed on Nier Automata, too. I've been dabbling in that, and I'm kind of meh. That's like Skyforge on the PlayStation 4 and playing in the early access, and it's still Skyforge. I mean, if you didn't like the idea of the smaller instance, very repetitive, grinded out type game, then fine, you're not going to like it anymore on the console. But the changes that they have made from a year and a half, 2 years ago, and particularly the addition of putting it on the console, it feels like it should have been made for the console.
It does seem like that with the control scheme, especially.
Yeah, it feels good on the console, and I've caught myself playing it I'm like, okay, I'm sick of doing this, and then it's an hour later and I'm still doing it. It's got a certain addictive quality to watching that prestige number go up, even if you're just like, oh, I don't want to do that again. Yeah, it's Skyforge, so if you really hated Skyforge, who cares? But if you were okay with Skyforge, but it just wasn't quite there 2 years ago with some of the systems they had that are no longer there, or you like the idea of playing it it's a lot more comfortable on the console.
I just wanted my prestige number to be higher so I could do some of the good content.
Right. Question of the week last week, what's the best free-to-play game soundtrack and why? The Grumpy says Guild Wars 2 music is the shit. They got amazing soundtrack. Sadly, the game's dying out at the moment from a toxic community that's punishing the game hard. Jason, I don't know if you'd go toxic community, but you kind of feel like the games might on a downward slope right now too.
Well, if you get into the rating community, it can be.
I agree with you, the Grumpy, though. I have the Guild Wars 2 original soundtrack that's autographed from when the game launched.
They actually did a concert just last night that a few people I know went to.
Wow.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
Chris Baker says, totally fucked up that question of the week last week.
On the names. What? We were talking about names for games, and Chris talked about how terrible his character names are.
God, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Chris, can you redeem yourself here? It's a question of the week. While it may not have anything jumping out at you at lower levels of the game, Vindictus has some pretty nice OSTs in later parts of the game. Problem is, Chris, then I have to actually get to those parts of the game. And again, it's like Skyforge. Like, eventually I'll get to the cool stuff, but no. Didn't last
talking about all the best stuff's at the beginning of the game. I mean, come on.
I don't know. I only played Vindictus for like 2 hours. But...
You're up, Zach.
I was completely joking.
Oh, okay.
Pyre Around says, which free-to-play game...
gave him both of them this week.
I was going to make sure this week, damn it. Which free-to-play game has the best soundtrack? Oh, boy, that's a tough one. But I think I'm going to have to go with League of Legends. I may hate the game these days, but the music is really memorable. I must have listened to Get Jinxed a dozen times the day Jinx released. And it's not exactly part of the game's soundtrack, but Smite and Ignite album by the in-game band Pentakill is still pretty badass. That's right. Riot put together a real metal band in the real world to make songs for their in-game metal bands and release them as a free album.
I do remember that.
Interesting.
And by the way, for those of you that may not know, Smite and Ignite is one name, not talking about the name of the game Smite. Totally different. Elusive X Treasure for the question of the week. I would have to cast my vote to Final Fantasy XI as having the best soundtrack. Case in point, I have the soundtrack on my music mix, which has led to some amusing times, leveling in the undead area on World of Warcraft to the Ronfair theme, or having the Poppy Chocobo music play at the oddest of moments. Honorable mention to Elder Scrolls Online. Elusive, I love both of those choices. Jason.
Hey, Direct Sky Shadow says, question of the week, easy. Guild Wars 2, the entire soundtrack is gorgeous, but the track Fear Not This Night is one of the best songs I've ever heard.
That is a soundtrack that I still listen to, still throw in. I'm looking at it on the shelf right there. Go ahead, Zach.
Bar none says EverQuest and EverQuest 2 have some of the best music in a game I've ever heard.
I remember being impressed by EverQuest's music when I first played EverQuest way back in the day. I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Cerulai, bus soundtrack for free-to-play. Cabal Online is pretty good, but Ion takes the cake. My only issue with Ion's soundtrack is it doesn't play very often. There's long periods of no music, but when it does play, you're right. It is a great soundtrack. Go ahead, Jason.
Orange Shire is his question of the week. I feel among the games I have played, ArcAge had the best soundtrack.
That one didn't do much for me, I don't think. And
I've
been back in ArcAge once or twice and still just haven't felt it. Go ahead, Zach.
Kethis Nadrov, I think is how you pronounce that. Question of the week.
Round.
It's Pierre Round. Manoki's soundtrack is one of the most memorable in my opinion. It really helps that it can be hummed and now it's in my head again. To top it off, you can compose and play your own melodies in-game, and you can sync with other players with different instruments to create amazing stuff. They also added singing at some points, but by then, the game wasn't as popular anymore, and there aren't many videos showing it. I'd say Warframe, especially during the cinematic quest, but I'm too biased from it being pretty much the only MMO I played in a long time. Also, they added simple composing yesterday.
Yeah, as part of their new update, there was some interesting stuff going into there. I thought so. Gord Lord says, Lord of the Rings Online is the MMO I always return to since it was my first real MMORPG experience, and I was already a fan of the Lord of the Rings. The atmosphere and soundtrack really made me feel like I was in Middle-earth. Jason, I think that's same for you too, right?
It has its good and its bad. Like there can be entire chunks of the game where you level for like 20 levels and it's not that great, but then you get into some nice bits of music and it's really good.
Finish it off, Jason.
All right. Excuse me. James Esparza says, monotone Zach can't read either. Rip. But for the question of the week, he says, I really enjoyed the soundtrack for the game Cabal. Besides having some generic rock music, the soundtrack had more than a few gems. I found myself actually listening to the soundtrack outside the game, which I never do for any title, so that scores him some points. I've also found myself listening to the various albums by the composers of the soundtrack as well. On another note, I really enjoy the opening and closing theme to the free-to-play cast. I looked up the artist and song some time ago, and now have it in one of my gaming playlists. So thumbs up for whoever decided to make that the cast official theme.
Yeah, that was decided. I think we used that on episode 1. Like, I don't think there is a single episode where we did not use that theme. And we've gotten asked over and over and over and over again throughout the years. It is, it's in the video description on YouTube. It's always been with a link and everything. Droideka Dub is the name of the YouTube channel. The user's Droideka, and the song is called Get Hyper. So there you go. Question of the week for this week. We want your opinion on today's two big topics. What do you think if you're a Heroes of the Storm buff about the changes there? What do you think if you're a Funcom Secret World fan of the changes there? Those are two really big stories for this week. It was a great episode to go through for us. Hope you enjoyed it, but let us know your thoughts down below in the comments. Don't forget your weekly bombs there too. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad. Could be gaming. I don't care. We'll read it. And if you have a question for the panel, make sure to put it in the comments below. Until next week, Zach, where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find this robot on Twitter at Zach Sharps, and maybe I might get a patch next week so I could read out loud properly.
Jason.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Winter Informal. Find me streaming twitch.tv/JasonWinter, and I'm fully updated. I don't need any.
Well, that's right. You're being re-released as 2.0.
That's right. I'm relaunching. Jason Winter, the legend.
I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. You can follow me personally on Twitter at MagicMan1, MagicManN1. Of course, while you're there, make sure you follow at MMOBomb so that you get all the latest news, articles, interviews, hopefully from Funcom soon. Answer the damn questions. Until next week, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.